go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Something like that.
If you would join me for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone. We do have an agenda. The first item of business was supposed to be the insurance discussion, but we're going to go ahead and let Jessica talk first.
Okay, so this will be old business.
Old business. Okay, go ahead. Oh, so we're moving 4
Yeah.
to 2, and 2 to 3, and 3 to 4.
Little switcheroo, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
I just
Morning.
wanted to get in front of you guys at least once formally. And then I do have some things to bring you guys, which we'll discuss at a different time. But really what I wanted to bring you guys is just kind of like some things that I've done for Ossians and just different projects, things that they don't mind me sharing. Just sort of how our workflow has gone. It's very different for Ossian as it is for Bluffton. And just a few projects that we're working on, some things that aren't public yet that I'm able to share, and then some things that are public that you're well aware of. Just wanted to share with you guys a little bit about how I kind of do that, how I workflow with everybody. So really, just informally for you guys, it's your call. You tell me sort of what you need, what goals you guys are striving to achieve, what mission, what projects are really at the top of your list. I kind of work based off of what you guys want. Obviously, I have grand ideas and things that I love, and then I share those with you and really kind of put together a plan of action. When it comes to communication-wise, I leave that up to you guys. How often do you want to communicate? Do you want me to be here at a monthly meeting? Do you want to strategically plan once a year? Do we want to touch base twice a year? Again, all those things are really up to you guys. It's different for each of the other communities as well. I do hold an executive session with each of them, obviously, whenever we have something we need to really discuss and, maybe grind out some incentives or approvals, things like that. I do those based on need. They're not really set up in any quarterly or monthly fashion. It's really just as they're needed. I'll come to county council tonight for an update. I try to give them an update on everything that's going on just for public review, because I do think that's important when things can be shared. I think it's important to share those, just those projects that we're working on. Lots and lots of work is done behind the scenes, and not everybody gets to see that, and that's okay, because sometimes those details have to stay private until they're able to be, to be sort of launched. But yeah, so county-wise, I'll come there about 3 or 4 times a year, maybe. Same with council. I'll do the same thing for council. So you might have seen some of my updates. I'll be there tonight. Like, for example, tonight I'm going to present housing gaps, like just to explain to them what the actual gap is for what's affordability, where our income ranges are for the county. I'll sort of break it out tonight and give an example of what our average wages for manufacturing only. It's a massive industry, there's a bunch of industries, and I don't always think that they mesh together when you're coming to compare incomes, but that's what I'll talk to them about tonight. So I think it'll be interesting. I think I'll have a lot of questions. And then I think hopefully at the end they'll understand when people talk about affordable housing, it's not necessarily, it's not subsidized housing, it's not free housing, it's what of our manufacturing workforce, what do they make? What does that translate to for affordability and actual rents that are being charged and or where mortgages are even at? So just to help with that, and I think that's important, might be important to you guys, especially as you guys are looking at housing developments and things like that. Yeah, when people say affordable, it's not free,
Right.
It's not subsidized.
Right.
It's just how do we work together to make something
And that's key, because I think when most people do hear affordable housing, they immediately go to government
That's correct.
subsidized, and they're like, nope, we don't want that. No, don't want that. So.
And that there's a need for that. I'm not saying that there's
Sure.
not, but that's not everybody's
Yeah.
need. And I think that's important for each community to understand where their needs are. So,
And I mean, if you're looking at the housing situation in Markle, the houses being built are houses that most people can't afford, and that's just the honest truth of it. And the idea was, well, people will move out to those houses. That's true, but then those houses that they're moving out of became outpriced too, so.
we're in a
And I-
good spot with rates and things like that.
Yeah, and then
so-
there's a changed expectation, and you and I have heard this before. You had some of the meetings in Wells County. When I was growing up, I grew up in an 800 square foot home, 2 bedrooms, 3 generations, 1 bathroom. You know, so my expectation coming out was I'm gonna live bigger. I bought a 900 square foot home and 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and that was great for me. That was my own home, and that started building equity. I think there's an expectation that everybody's gonna come right out of college, get a 4-bedroom home, 2.5 bathrooms with an acre. And while they're waiting for it, they're living off of somebody else. And but here's the thing, the problem is this community, average age is over 50. And we need houses to keep and attract people between 18 and 40. And people say, well, that's not a problem. Well, Matt, we have the nursing home. Compare that to Ossian, and Ossian has a nursing home too, and the population's younger. If the population keeps getting older, we're gonna lose a population that's gonna take care of that older population. So we need to attract people, modest homes and stuff, but we can't change that expectation. Government can't do that, you know. I have some questions though that maybe they'll come later.
Sure, what can I answer for you?
I'll see. But when the idea was first proposed as a joint venture between the communities in Wells County, it was presented to me as if the economic development person would only be working on residential, but charging us for the whole Markle rate, but not accessing anything in Huntington County. So the offer was costing us 3 times as much to get half as much service, and that's why I said no.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good proposition.
No, it just didn't make sense. So if Markle joined in on this and we looked into this, would it be all of Markle?
I mean, yeah, wherever you guys, I mean, like I said, I'll work well with anyone. If you need me to work with your Huntington economic developer, I'm all in for that. I don't actually envision a time where we wouldn't be working together, because I don't think that makes sense.
No, yeah, you're right. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I just don't think that makes sense. I think that creates future problems, and that's not what I'd be here for. So, honestly though, like I said in the very beginning, it's really what you guys want me to go after.
Yeah.
You have you mentioned only housing. If you only want me to work on housing, then I'll only work on housing.
No.
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, you mentioned that. I don't know, like, I really do what you guys kind of need from me.
Yeah.
You know your community. You just
Yeah.
mentioned some statistics. You know your community really well.
Yeah.
I imagine all of you do. If you haven't strategically planned for that, and it sounds like you have, because you have some ideas about where your community's at, where it's going, but that would be a really important step for me to get involved in, is just to even understand if you've already done it. What did it look like? How did it end? What, what are your top 3 priorities? Because that's going to help me work in tandem with the rest of Markle, I guess, and the part of Markle that's in Huntington.
It sounds like you got the same philosophy that I have with coaching. What went well, what didn't go well,
Yeah.
how can we make it better?
Yeah, and also too, hearing your, I don't know, if you think it's an issue, but your population is a little older, I don't necessarily look at that like it's a problem. That's kind of a part of a community that a lot of communities don't have right now, and it's a stable part of your community. It's a really good part. Yes, we need to look forward to the next decade, like what do we need to do to attract and to bring in housing and developments that make sense for other ages, 100%. But that's just a solution that we can find, and it sounds like you guys already have that on top of your mind. But I look at Markle like a really stable community. It's really clean, it's always put, I mean, I know everybody has their parts, so hear me out, but it's really a stable, nice little community, so.
Yeah, and the other nice thing about with Markle, with Ossian and Bluffton and Huntington, you know, what you can't find in one of those other communities, you can find in this community. So some people will say, well, you don't have the conveniences you have in big cities. Well, when you look at it, yes, you do. It's just, the drive is going to be the same because you don't got as much traffic. You just have a prettier drive to get there, that's all.
But some people will move to Markle because they don't want all those conveniences. Sometimes you have what somebody else doesn't. So that's not a bad thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll work on what you guys, if you guys have top 3 priorities, if you want to bring in industry, if you're looking for a specific industry to complement Wayne Metals, if you're looking for somebody, you know, to source materials from, and you have tons of specs right along, well, you did, now you've got, what, maybe 1 left, I think, over there.
Yeah, right.
That's a great space for that. That makes perfect sense. I'm really big on planning. So it's not just like, who can we get, where can we put them? We've missed the part. We need to plan ahead of time and figure out where we want them and who we want there, because not everybody is a good fit for every community.
That's exactly right.
And so we kind of need to work together on that, and I think that makes sense to work with Huntington CDC as well, because yeah, if they're working on attracting something, maybe I can assist by helping out, hey, workforce can come from this area of Markle as well, or this might make sense for development in the future. Let's take a look at that land, and maybe site acquisition makes sense. Let's focus on that. I don't think that's a one side or another. I think it's really just again, what are your top priorities? How do we go about doing that? I'm just a big planner ahead of time. I don't like working from behind. I think that's where mistakes are made.
I think one of the things that we probably could utilize you in the greatest way is, obviously one of the things that's on our mind is the IU hospital that's going to open up next year.
Yeah, it should be.
So how do we attract as many young medical professional families that are going to be moving into the area? Obviously, from the Wells County side, we're looking at the development of housing, so it's easy for you to think, yeah, housing is for Wells County, but we really need, these young families and millennials want cool little retail shops downtown. So how do you help us, even though downtown is Wells County, how can you work with us to attract entrepreneurs and business owners to want to open up their shop here in our little downtown area? How can we make that as attractive? We're already working on some things with an investor to maybe get some more building space ready to attract realtors, but those are the little things that that these young families want. They want a coffee shop, they want this, they want a little cafe, a little restaurant. So those are the things that I would really love to see you come with ideas. And we're nose blind to it. We think we know how to attract it, but I would love to have your freshness come in from outside and say, have you guys considered this, or look at what we have here and say, boy, we could do this, we could do that. That's where I really feel like we could utilize you.
Happy to jump in and help wherever you guys see fit.
I'm glad you said that. I don't have any experience, the kind of experience she has doing economic development, so.
Yeah, I go after what you guys have in mind. I go after your priorities. So again, if you have it strategically planned, I would, even if it's not, go and hiring someone to bring it in, I don't think that's necessary all the time, but if you haven't brought in somebody, you said your nose blind to it, if you haven't brought in somebody who's got a fresh perspective or has done that, they ask hard questions and they make you answer really hard questions that you don't love. It's a little uncomfortable, but what comes out of it is usually really, really good. A clarity, kind of a vision, where you really want to go. Again, I'm all about planning. If you're planning your downtown and you're really working on bringing some of that stuff in, what are we doing to make those spaces really attractive to bring that in? Again, I'm not subsidizing anything for anyone, but are we sort of taking out some of the red tape for them? Are we helping them figure out, spaces, readily available spaces? There are things that we can do to sort of be prepared for that.
I think the one thing that this council has done pretty well, that Mike and the other leaders in our town have done well too, is we look at things like 8 years ahead, and that goes with anything, with economic development, equipment, projects and things, but a part of that, we're also looking at projects that should have been done a long time ago, and now they're more expensive. And so we've taken the responsibility and accountability to take care of those things. So 8 years from now, this town's going to be better off, and I think that's the way. We have to look at it.
Childcare, millennials have kids.
Yeah, right.
They're getting a little older, so they may not have little kids. I'm one of those early ones. But yeah, there's another generation right after us that
and the state
needs
legislature
childcare and needs places to bring their kiddos. And so yeah, there's some ideas. I've talked with, who was it? No, it was Mike. You and Mike and I had a conversation about. Sorry, I'll bring it up.
The other bald guy.
I'll bring it up at a different time. But yeah, no, it's just there's some ideas out there, some things that are working really well for small rural communities. Big, huge centers aren't always successful, and that's again because some of your workforce here, I shouldn't say it that way. Your workforce here is going like this, and they're going out to work, right? And they're coming back. They could be going out 60 miles, 30 miles, 15 miles, all different directions. This is your central this is your central area. Like, this is the space they want to drop off and then come back and pick up. It is difficult to find it is difficult to find childcare, but capacity is not necessarily the issue right now, it's affordability. And they're usually just figuring out who can watch their kid right now. Because like, hey, I'll watch yours, you watch mine, let's figure out a solution. I think as a small town, it's really hard for you guys. That is an incredible task to put on your list, but it can be done. There are some really good models out there that people are doing in small communities, just to talk about. Doesn't mean we have to do it, just to talk about.
No, I mean, and as far as how involved we get, I think the one thing is we help find resources. I mean, there's a new state law that's coming in, talking about tax credits given to employers for childcare, if they provide and sponsor childcare.
Correct. So in Wells County and in Huntington County right now, we have the tri-share co-share model. I don't know if you've heard about it yet.
Yes.
Great. So now it's not Huntington necessarily. Adams and Wells has a coalition, Imagine Early. Huntington has something different. I don't know what it is, but there is something that exists. I just don't know enough about it to speak about it. But the SDC has set aside some money to, as a pilot, the tri-share model is a third of the child care is paid for by the bucket of money by the SDC, a third is paid for by the employer, and a third by the employee. Those are for income range, certain income ranges. You cannot just get that, right?
You'll make sure the employee has some skin in the game.
That's correct, absolutely. But that becomes a very affordable option. And so anyway, again, your coalition at a Huntington would know that. So if they're Huntington residents and then if they're Wells residents, they have that opportunity.
How does that not just inflate the affordability?
So that's a really good question, because then they can just go and charge more for what it is. So with our region, they monitor all of that. And so if they start inching their prices up, they start saying like, whoa, hold on, this wasn't what your cost was. Because that's exactly what vouchers did. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but vouchers kind of cost a little bit of that. Everybody got a certain price, not every facility was charging that. Long story, far smarter people than me came up with those plans, but it did inflate the price. And so I think when they start tracking this and they start saying something to them like, this wasn't your cost before, why is this your cost now? That becomes a little bit of a hold up, like, we're not gonna fund that anymore. If you become a facility that we can no longer, we feel like we're getting ripped off and you don't use that facility. And that does stink for the parent, you know, they have to find another care provider, but that could be a future if everybody starts to do that. But you know what? That's the free market. The free market figures things out, and you gotta come back in and you gotta say, now wait a second, this is what we agreed on, this is what we're gonna pay. So maybe it's contractually done on an annual basis, I don't know. I'm not the child care, but I would imagine that if that starts to happen, Nick, then that's what people have to start figuring out.
I mean, the free market would be without that.
The free market would be me going to my neighbor going, hey, you and I, let's scratch each other's back, let's figure it out. But we also know that that's not sustainable long-term either, because I might be on a different schedule than they are, and so on and so forth. I mean, my kid's younger and their kid's older, we gotta go figure out something else. But we also know that that puts kids in a predicament too. Everybody parents the same. And again, that's what's super attractive about a facility, is that you know there's a curriculum, you know there's a standard and a structure. So my kids went to the little daycare up here and I loved them.
I want to add something else to what you just said too, is the rates that are used aren't rates Indiana statewide, they're actually area units. And they look at different areas, because what childcare costs in rural northeastern Indiana is different than Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, that's correct.
So
yeah.
I did see some of those rates were different.
Yeah, not in the beginning,
No.
but it did get fixed. Yeah, I mean.
I guess for this public meeting, I would like a little understanding of like the history of like when you started it for, I think, the city of Bluffton, and what you are currently working underneath, what your business entity is, and what your standard charge for municipalities is.
Yeah, that's not, the way that they divided it out in the beginning was based on seeded funding, right? So everybody paid in a certain percentage, is how they end up structuring it through interlocal agreement. I'm a 501c3 now, Wells County Economic Development. So we're in the process of actually making some final transfers to that right now. It's taking a little bit of time, but there is a contract, an employment contract that I have with the 501c3. So everybody, for now, same seeded funds will go to fund the 501c3. That may change in 2029 when lit changes and some different things change. I'll kind of leave it up to the interlocal agreements to figure that out at that point. There is not a standard. That's a negotiation you guys will all have with the board and myself. So it depends on what you want. It depends on how much of my time. It depends on really what goals you guys want me to go after. if you want grant funding, if you want things like that, I mean, those are, depends on the grant. Is it a mega grant, is it a small grant, is it micro grants? All those require different amounts of, really levels of my time. And it's not really by hour, it's nothing like that, you know what I mean? So it's really gonna be an annual amount, that's how I envision it at least. Going forward, I envision it being an annual amount, just like it is for Ossian, the city of Bluffton, and the county. The county definitely covers the majority of the cost.
But I guess more importantly, are you an employee of the 501c3, or are you an employee of the city of Bluffton?
My first payroll will come out of the 501c3, I think in June.
No.
I think that's the first month that it's supposed to be. It's been like a 3-month transition of getting everything finalized. The 501c3 was finalized last year. We're just trying to work out some of the details.
And there's some advantages of, under that kind of rubric other than the government, yeah.
No, the way it was set up for me, I was fine with it. You guys, I would have stayed in that position. I understand your concerns with it. It was a really good setup for me. I had everything funded. I didn't have to worry about, accounting and all that stuff because I was able to give it to the clerk. It was me. I'm a one-person show. You want me to start doing all the accounting and all the extra different things, that's gonna cost more money. It's just a one-person thing here. I cannot do it all. So, and the goal was to grow EDC anyway. And so the idea was, let me get in, let me figure out what I'm doing, let me learn how to do these things, write grants, show up to council meetings and different things like that, really kind of work with our employers. That's a big thing. I mean, I know you guys, we don't have a ton here like I do throughout the county, but I'm in and out of our employers' shops, factories, really, really regularly. I meet with them. We don't just talk once a year for CF1s. Like, that's a common misconception. I'm conducting BR&E visits 4 times a year. I have my next one tomorrow. I'll have 4 businesses in Ossian. There's an awful lot of communication that goes in with our existing businesses. For me, it's not all about attraction, it's about expansion and retention too. Our businesses in Wells County grow and expand pretty regularly, and we're really fortunate for that. That stability, I think, is what makes Wells County really hard to contend with sometimes, but it also doesn't allow us to attract a ton because we don't have a lot of open land available. We do, but we don't have an abundant amount of sites available. I should say it more like that. We do have land available. But I'm also land preservation. Where does it go? Where does it make sense? It's not just willy-nilly, let's just go get someone. So, the way I kind of compose my day is sort of the beginning of the day is site visits. I'm at different businesses throughout the day. The rest of my day might be, depending on if it's grant-related, meetings, different things like that. I do spend some time with our Indiana partnership on attraction pieces and retail pieces. Everyone's trying to attract retail right now. You guys aren't alone in that. Every single community in this county wants retail aspects. So we're doing a lot of conversations with different site selectors, different groups that attract those. How do you get, and I'm just gonna say a Culver's, I'm not really trying to get a Culver's, but how do you go get a Culver's? How do you go do this? Like, it's figuring out how to really get with the right people to bring in those businesses. But yeah, so it just depends on what you're looking at. Sites right now for housing is another huge part of my day. I feel like I have not a top 3, I have 3 number 1s. Like, everybody needs something, and it's all at the top of the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it really is gonna depend on you guys, but my setup is a 501c3. I'm funded through the same sources I was funded through before. It's just that now I'm gonna be a separate entity entirely.
And I think what it would take is us 3 sitting down and figure out what coverage do we already have from whom.
Yeah.
And figure out where we have gaps at,
Yeah.
Because we're involved in different organizations like that help with grants and things like that, but then not all those grants are the kinds that we need either. So I think the other thing that I would like to see is some of the retail actually come from within, and some of our residents of our people within our own community who have a higher investment help. And I think that's going to be something else we might look forward to is finding people who have the wherewithal, or at least the interest of filling some of these retail spaces up with someone local and actually active, so appreciate your time.
Yeah.
You guys got any other questions?
We're still good for the executive session on
Yeah, that's the plan.
Wednesday? Okay.
All righty.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good, thanks.
Have a good morning.
Yeah,
Have a
you
good
guys
week.
have a-
We'll move on then to the insurance discussion we have in front of us. Up here is the renewal, the premium worksheet for the renewal.
We can just walk through, I'm a little confused on which piece is each.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, if we can,
Yeah, so everything that was directly in front of you is from IMG.
yeah, I touched everything, that's the
Well,
problem.
I'll just go ahead and walk you through it, perfect. I will apologize, this is a little messy, but we did not have a representative from Walker Hughes, which is our current provider, to walk us through anything. We had a meeting scheduled for Thursday that our agent picked the time and date and did not arrive. He was aware of this meeting this morning, said he would attend, and he is not in attendance. I've reached out to Walker Hughes numerous times to go through this policy, look at things. So all of this is Walker Hughes, all of that. This is IMG, these three. Okay. So.
So we only have two options then.
You have two options.
Okay.
We did have four, we would have had four options, however, two companies had to drop out due to non-compete issues that Walker Hughes pushed to enforce. So they were not able to quote, they were not willing to put their employees or themselves at any risk of lawsuit. So they dropped out. That left IMG and Walker at the table. The quote from IMG came back with Selective as the carrier, and it is about $10,000 higher. Now, there is the option for IMG to take control of the EMC of the carrier policy, but they had to file some paperwork. There's a 10-day period that Walker, the agency that handles the Walker Hughes stuff, could either just say, hey, let them have it, or no, we don't want them to have it. They have been unresponsive. So regardless, they have to wait it out. We do have coverage. Meaning, they're trying to wait it out until they can get control of the policy if we decide to go with IMG, which will keep the policy at the quoted rate that Walker Hughes provided. It might be slightly higher. The policy, if you read through the summary that they provided, he was apologized he couldn't be here. The policy is messy. There are a lot of, we went through it. There are job classifications that we're paying a higher rate for that we shouldn't. For example, like Cheryl is paid from the water fund, so she was classified as a water employee. Well, she's not out there doing work at a trench. She's clerical. There's just certain classifications that can be changed that would save us some money. There are some coverages that we are deficient on. For example, the water plant. To rebuild that water plant's every bit of $10 million to rebuild that plant. We've got like 1.5 on it for coverage. IMG proposed we up it to 5 right now, and then maybe we'll reevaluate again next year and up it again. So we're not just opening a whole bunch at once. There was some equipment that we've been insuring. I asked the question why we're insuring things like snow plows that are attached to a pickup truck. Anything of less than $10,000 in value, shouldn't that be covered under our umbrella? He said, yes, you can. So there's a whole list of items that we took off of there that's going to be covered under the umbrella anyway. We don't need to be paying an additional premium for. So essentially, the EMC policy just needs to be cleaned up. If we decide to go with IMG, they can get control of the policy by midnight on May 18th, and then we can move forward cleaning up the policy.
That's big, right?
Yeah. I think that's what we need to do. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. My recommendation is to let IMG take control of the EMC's
Yeah.
policy,
Hands down.
and we just move forward with that.
I 100% agree.
I think the decisions here are not necessarily two different decisions. One is, do we need a better quote? And it seems like right now the EMC price is good. as far as what this is, but that could change for what we're actually gonna get coverage for, correct?
There's, like I said, we need to clean it up, change some coverages on, like the water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant lab, the contents of the lab needed to be adjusted. So it might fluctuate a little bit, but again, we're taking out some stuff that we didn't need to ensure that's covered under the umbrella anyway. It might be a bit of a wash, so.
And that needed to happen whether we stay with Walker Hughes or go with IMG.
Absolutely.
That's something that must happen, so.
But the second part of the discussion is, do we want to work with the entity of Walker Hughes anymore? And if we're proposing that question, I think we have an entire list of things that, through our discussions with Mr. Markle on his police vehicles, that says that we should not work with Walker Hughes. The reason we were working with Walker Hughes in the first place was they had a local agent that is no longer working with them. They had a local assistant that is no longer working with them. So our contacts with specifically Walker Hughes are gone. If the people behind them would have filled in and said, hey, look, now we're here, we're your agent, and actually represented us after that, we might have a different discussion, but in my opinion, they have not done that. They've been absent.
Absolutely.
So, I think even if we were to make a decision on monetary money, we would have enough justification to go with a different company and pay more, just because we're not getting represented by our agent. But in this case, if we could just turn over EMC to IMG, I would make a motion to do that.
I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to go with IMG, Blue Representative with IMG. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries.
I'll get that. I already filed the paperwork with them, so that could happen potentially. I just need to call them and let them know.
Awesome.
Anything else on this, on the insurance discussion?
So we have executive session at 6.
Yes, at 6
On
on Wednesday,
Wednesday.
special meet, or a regular meeting at 7 on Wednesday.
We go to the rest of the agenda. Limited public comments or questions. Hearing none. Any other old business we didn't discuss? Hearing none, then we will adjourn.
All right.
And I'll see you
I
guys
hope-
again this